Crayons, Tommy Boy, and Blackwater USA are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is March 31st, 2022. It is the 90th day of the year. There are 275 days left in 2022. It is your 13th Tuesday in your 14th week and the 12th day of spring. You got 82 days left until summer. I think it's still snowing back east someplace, and it's like the middle of March. I was just watching the Weather Channel. Or it's the end of March, I should say. If today's your birthday, you're an Aries. Today is National Crayon Day. Each year on March 31st, children and adults alike pick up their favorite colors for National Crayon Day. Opening up a box of crayons opens up a world of imagination and hours of fun. That's what it says on their website. I always liked crayons as a kid. I still just like to look at the colors when my granddaughter's playing with them. Pretty fun. She loves them. Over the years, they've retired over 500 crayon-colored names. Sometimes the name just changes, but they keep the color. The color purple was retired, so was grape juice purple. There's one color called Tickle Me Pink. That's had like 3 different names. Princess Perfume, Bubble Bath, Bubble Gum. Actually, it's had more than that. Hedgehog Pink, Scruffy Pink, Pulsar Pink. Yeah, I'm not sure what to call it anymore. They got other ones like Atomic Tangerine, used to be Sizzling Sunset and Afterburner Orange. Crayons are a very interesting part of American culture. I've always found them fascinating for some reason. All right, let's see what else March 31st has given us. 1521, Ferdinand Magellan and 50 of his men come ashore to present-day the Philippines to participate in the first Catholic Mass in the country. 1761, the 1761 Lisbon earthquake strikes off the Iberian Peninsula with an estimated magnitude of 8.5. This was only 6 years after they had another earthquake that pretty much destroyed the whole city. 1906, the Intercollegiate Athletic Association of the United States is established to set rules for college sports in the United States. It later changes its name to National Collegiate Athletic Association, which is the NCAA. 1951, Remington Rand delivers the first UNIVAC-1 computer to the United States Census Bureau. UNIVAC-1, which stood for Universal Automatic Computer, number 1, was the first general-purpose electronic digital computer designed for business applications produced in the United States. Very interesting time in computers. 1970, Explorer 1 re-enters the Earth's atmosphere after 12 years in orbit. Most of that time, almost all of the time, doing absolutely nothing but circling the Earth. It only had a battery life of 4 months, so they got data for 4 months, then after that it was just floating around up there, doing nothing. These days with solar panels and better batteries, they can get data from a satellite or whatever for decades and decades. 1992, the USS Missouri is the last active United States Navy battleship, and it's decommissioned in Long Beach, California. I always thought it was just kind of strange that such big ships that were such, a big part of naval warfare for about a century was just thrown away like that. That was just the end of it. It just outlived its purpose. The last combat the Missouri saw was in the first Gulf War. 2004, in the Iraq War, in Fallujah, Iraq, 4 American private military contractors working for Blackwater USA are killed after being ambushed. So today's deep dive is Blackwater USA. Blackwater USA was a private security firm, I guess you could say, that worked during the Gulf War and other details like that around the world. What it was a Navy SEAL got together and got a bunch of ex-military, trained them, and turned them into this security force. Security force is what they like to call themselves. I like to call them mercenaries. Basically, you have a bunch of guys that got out of the military, go to work for them, and do what the military does, but for like 10 times the pay. As an ex-soldier, I'm not too keen on this. I've never liked the privatization of war. It just doesn't make sense to me. In the Army, we had cooks, but you go to Iraq and some private company like Halliburton is now supplying their own cooks, and our cooks end up being like lackeys for this private company that's getting paid millions and millions of dollars. And then you take it a step further, and you have these private security firms doing what the U.S. military is actually there to do. I've never liked it, never made sense. And these guys had little accountability, and that normally creates a problem like the many incidents they had in Iraq. The Iraqi government revoked Blackwater's license to operate in Iraq on September 17, 2007, after a massacre in a square in Baghdad in which Blackwater contractors killed 17 Iraqi civilians. They were later convicted of this. So what happened in this incident, I guess there was a car bomb in the green zone, and so the Blackwater tactical team was told to go to this one area and stay there. The commander of the tactical team decided to make a tactical decision and move into this circle, this square, whatever, and stop all the traffic for some frickin' reason. Well, there was some confusion while they're trying to stop the traffic, and it started off with a Kia being driven by a young man and his mother in the passenger seat. It was rolling forward. Most people say probably didn't know what was going on. You have these civilians with guns in the middle of the road. So he's rolling forward. Well, he took one round and he was killed. The vehicle continued to roll because the driver was now dead. And then someone else started shooting the vehicle and eventually launched a grenade into the vehicle, incinerating it. The driver and the driver's mother, who was the passenger, perished in the event. And then it erupted from there. That wasn't their only incident, but that was probably one of their biggest incidents. Eventually, Blackwater has ended up changing its name quite a few times to kind of put their past behind them. But yeah, it's the whole situation's weird. And I understand combat and shooting and all that stuff can be stressful. It can be weird and bad things happen. But that's why we have the military. Movies released on March 31st, 1995, Tommy Boy. This was Chris Farley and David Spade at their finest. This was such a funny movie. It also had Rob Lowe, Dan Aykroyd, Bo Derek, Brian Dennehy, Sean McCann, and Julie Warner, who I love. She was great. She still is great. She was in Doc Hollywood, which I recommend that movie to everyone. It's got Michael J. Fox, a bunch of other people. Julie Warner's in there. Just a heads up on this one. Doc Hollywood is a PG-13 movie, but they do show her without her shirt for a minute, so keep that in mind. It fits the story, but yeah, in case you have it with kids, that's just something to keep in mind. If you are watching it with kids and want to know when that happens, when he's waking up after his first night in the small town and he's walking down towards the lake, he's hungover, have the kids go out of the room right then. They can come back in 30 seconds later. But Tommy Boy is an excellent movie. She was in that. Tommy Boy, the movie's like this. After the death of his father, a socially and emotionally immature son takes over the family's business, which is Chris Farley, and must save the business from collapsing and not just going bankrupt. It also has his new younger wife, which is Bo Derek, and her son, supposedly, which is Rob Lowe. It's a great movie if you ever get a chance to see that one. Born on March 31st, 1971, Ewan McGregor. He's had a lot of great roles, but one of his biggest that most people know him from is as the young Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars prequel trilogy, that middle section of Star Wars movies that sucked. Yeah, he was Obi-Wan Kenobi in there. He also was in Trainspotting, which is kind of a strange movie, and he also was in one of my favorite movies of all time, Big Fish. Great movie. Died on March 31st. 1980, we lost Jesse Owens, African-American track star who won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Berlin Olympics, winning the 100 meter, the 200 meter, the 4x4 100 meter, and the long jump. A year earlier, he set 3 world records in less than an hour while competing at Ohio State University. His name isn't even Jesse. Well, that's what he went by. His name is really James Cleveland Owens. But people thought he was saying Jesse because he had a very thick Southern accent. He's from Oakville, Alabama. He would introduce himself as JC, but the way he said it sounded like Jesse. So people started calling him Jesse, and he was like, screw it, I'll go with that. In the 1936 Olympics, he was giving such a dominant performance, and Hitler at the time was going, oh, the Aryan race is the master race and all this. And then you have this African-American guy just beat the crap out of all his runners, and Jesse Owens just won the Olympics in general. And Hitler refused to hang out and watch much of it. He married his high school sweetheart, her name was Minnie, and they stayed together till his death in 1980. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.